Alright, back on the road. I got some ideas. Gotta solve the meat processing conundrum between here and Cuba. Here, ready? Okay. I think what we need to, so there's multiple parts of the issue. One is that we subsidize the ever-living, you know what, out of corporate commodity meat. There's no labor laws to protect people working the meat plants. We've gotten rid of like skilled butchery as like a middle class occupation. There's very little in the way of training programs. Some of that's starting to change. A model that I think could disrupt the corporate meat monopolies would look like a disaggregated harvest model. It's especially relevant in highly rural places in the West. You know, I can buy a mobile slaughter unit from a company in Australia for $20,000. Now, if we could establish regulations around how you can use that sort of unit to harvest an animal under inspection and be able to sell the meat, you know, even though right now there's you know, really high prices at the sale barn, those aren't going to last, and it's actually potentially really detrimental to the entire meat industry when you have, you know, there's some weird things happening that a lot of people speculate is about trying to squeeze out all of the small producers and really further consolidate the monopoly that the big meat packers have on the whole industry. Anyway, in response to that, how do we create viable local supply chains that ensure that we are able to use animals to harvest perennial grasses, you know, shoreline prairie, while also doing ecosystem services that increase soil health and improve the health of watersheds to address the water crisis, simultaneously, you know, protecting food sovereignty. And I mean, water sovereignty and food sovereignty go hand in hand. We have to bring the cost down. We have to figure out how to design a system that operates on some level of quote-unquote efficiency that's not just a strict externalization of costs. So, hauling animals, like having to drive 500 miles to get animals to a plant and then drive another 500 miles to go pick the carcasses up. What's a better way to do this? We can't have you know, there's limited capacity in a rural community for housing a large, you know, like the Mountain Air plant. Part of why they went down is they just couldn't keep skilled workers. You know, I think there's 80 people in that town that are like not retired or on meth. So it's tough. What's a better way? We had mobile, you know, or potentially even small sort of modular units that can be scattered around, moved around for doing the harvesting, and, you know, mobile slaughtermen that could go around and help transition animals from life to death in a way that's humane and clean and sanitary. And then we need to be able to aggregate all of that meat and bring it into closer proximity to where you have workforce that can do the fabrication. Take the carcass from a 100-pound side down to steaks and burgers and all that. So centralized facilities. I think this idea, I'm not the only one who came up with this idea. Lucas Salazar, who we used to work with, is working on putting this into action up in Taos. Having a combination of mobile and modular units for doing the harvest, and then having a large centralized facility for doing the fabrication where you actually process the animals and cuts. And then we've got to tie that into like effective distribution channels, and not just part of the problem is also that the cost for us, like we have to run our own grocery store and open the market our meat. You can't just sell to another grocery store. They get all of their meat from these, through these supply chains that are exclusionary. You can't, like, I can't go sell to Costco or Walmart or whatever. Like, they have to get all their stuff through a distributor who gets all their stuff from a meat packer. That it's all locked in a contract. So the cost for us of marketing is also really high. So we have to address this on a whole supply chain, all the way from how do we reduce the cost for the rancher? So instead of having to haul animals 200 miles, maybe he doesn't have to haul animals at all. Maybe there's a truck that can come out there and they shoot the animal right there in the field, pull the carcass into the truck, drive it back into town, drop it off at the fat facility. And then that fabrication facility doubles as a food hub, and we are able to move the protein around to where it's needed and get it into the hands of consumers without every single rancher having to also be a butcher and a grocer. So this isn't just about supporting agriculture, it's about supporting small towns and local economy. What are other ways that we can increase the value proposition? One, just education. Like the meat that is produced and harvested and processed and everything right here in your community, it generally is going to have, if they're doing it right, higher nutritional value. Animals that eat a wide variety of plants that are growing on healthy soils have intrinsically more nutritional value than animals that are kept in a feedlot and fed corn soy rations with, you know, their own fat and growth hormones and injected with water. It's garbage. So getting people to understand that even though at the end of the day you'll always have to pay more for good food than the crap you buy at Walmart, that really between the long-term health benefits, the short-term, it just tastes better and makes you feel better, and you don't need as much of it. I can eat 4 ounces of meat and 2 eggs from homegrown meat on fresh eggs right out of the barnyard that are eating grubs and stuff. I'm good all day. I go and buy a fast food burrito with mass commodity stuff. I eat twice as much. I'm hungry twice as soon. So there is a difference in the food. You can't just look at weights and volumes as the only measure. We have to look at the quality of it. What are other things we can do? Real solutions for developing local food systems. Whole supply chain and value add. Part of it is like local meat. What we sell, we don't sell any $3.99 a pound just regular ground pork. Very little. We cut it with sauces, chili, wine, cheese, spices, and make sausage. And by taking a plain ground product, adding in a little bit of carefully calculated recipes, and making something that's absolutely delicious and provides people with a real experience, we're able to market it at more than our $6-7 a pound cost. Makes us at least break even. So how do we develop capacity to not just harvest the animals, but then to take that and add more and more value into it? And this applies for meat, but it applies for everything else too. Like we're the 5th largest dairy producing state in the country, and yet there is all of one cheesemaker in the whole state. Tucumcari. We export all the dairy to Texas, where they make cheap mozzarella, so that we can have 99-cent slices of pizza in New York. It's like, where are the cheese making? I'm pretty stoked. We're gonna be we're helped found something called the Cheese Guild. I shouldn't say we helped found it. We got involved pretty early on. But the Cheese Guild, we're hosting a cheese making school to help encourage artisanal cheese making. A gallon of milk goes for $1 or something on the commodity markets. You take a gallon of milk, turn it into cheese, all of a sudden it's worth $20. And if you sell it right here in your community, that $20 stays in the community, instead of the money or the cheese, the milk going to make mozzarella, and then somebody in New York ends up making money off of it. So keeping money in our state, directly ties into how we deal with agriculture. How we deal with agriculture ties into whether or not our kids and future grandkids will have access to potable water. Not simple things, but some really important parts of this is that we have to take a whole systems approach. Holism is an idea that's been around since Aristotle. There's wisdom in recognizing that if you look at any one piece of problem, you're not going to solve the problem. Like, you have to look at the underlying conditions that created the problem. So in the case of the meat packing industry, there's two major factors that we need to address here. One is that the regulations are written and enforced in a way that favor large-scale commodity producers, and we don't have any of those in New Mexico. So we need a different regulatory framework that can ensure that meat stays safe while not unnecessarily discriminating against small processors. The second part is that you have to deal with the economic reality that the market is so manipulated through things like price guarantees on certain commodity crops that give a huge advantage to feedlot producers and people that are harvesting animals coming out from a corn-fed diet compared to a grass-fed diet, which ecologically and really in reality is a way cheaper way to produce beef. Way less energy, way less everything, but because there's so much subsidy, we're going to be facing an upside down market, and I don't think that's going away. Even if the feds wanted to try to bust up the monopolies, these corporations control our food supply. Like, they just kind of laugh and say, yeah, go for it. So we've got to get creative. We got to come up with ways that we can innovate and develop products that will have a value proposition that will pull people away from their addiction to cheap food and make them realize that a slightly higher investment in supporting local agriculture and supporting their communities will pay itself off, both in health benefits, in the eating experience, in having sustainable, viable rural livelihoods. It's like, you can do this. This is Cuba. I love this little town. It's really sad. There's so many boarded up buildings, but then there's also a bunch of little pop-up, like there's a coffee shop at the other end of town that's in a little trailer outside of somebody's double wide, and really awesome. I think I might stop and get a smoothie. And there's something to be said about embracing regionalism. Like, I'm gonna hang up and start calling people and see if I can figure out what else can I go get while I'm up in Durango. Like, I'm gonna go to the James Ranch and see if they'll sell me a bunch of cheese. Let's see where we can get some, there's a tortilla chip company up there that makes bomb diggity green chili tortilla chips. I could, I'm driving up here just to get my hogs. How can we take that and say we're gonna create the connectivity to be able to get the products from where they are to where there's market for them? And how can we get the southern New Mexico specialty crops flowing up to the middle Rio Grande Valley and connect that to the Estancia Valley, connect that up into the San Luis Valley, and get the major agricultural producing regions to have this sort of infrastructure. Man, I wish we had trains. Can we bring back trains? Trains are awesome. It's a bummer that the federal government had to pay for all of that infrastructure and then give all of it to private monopolies that then tax the shit out of everybody so much that all the farmers revolted and tried to kill all the railroad magnates, and then the federal government eventually decided to go with freeways and 18-wheelers, and because trains are awesome. It'd be so cool if we could just drive down to the train station, throw something on there, and then come back the next day and pick it up. But see, there's all the things going out of business. Oh, here's the Rio Puerco. It's pretty incised and it's dry back there, but here there's a little bit of water running through it. It's a little tiny bit. Korean grill. Yeah. I'd love to put a grocery store in this town. There's kind of a food desert here. Like one little Safeway sort of deal. Ooh, Blanca's tamales. I wish I hadn't eaten at Twister's now. All right, what do we got here? And here's my favorite little coffee shack. Oh no, the flags aren't out. Are they open? Closed. Bummer. All right. Well, I'm gonna shut up and go back to driving. Thanks for indulging. If you made it this far, cool. I'm gonna keep doing these videos whenever I have to. I think next month I've got spots up in Chama, and then after that, back up towards Manassa and Alamosa. So hopefully these guys in just down the road will figure out how to get a couple animals done on a regular basis for us. But I'm not gonna let go of my other spots until I get that sorted out. And get it. Love y'all. Stay kind, stay safe, stay sane. If you feel crazy, remember that being well adjusted to a crazy world is no sign of good mental health. So if you're feeling especially crazy these days, it probably means you're normal, and you should be confident that if you weren't crazy, that would probably be more of a problem. And don't lose hope. I had some farmer friends just texting me about how sad they are at the state of the world, and it's hard, like I don't know what to tell you, but like the world is hurting really bad. I remember I saw this sticker that the world isn't dying, the world is being killed, and the people doing the killing have names and addresses. Like, these are solvable problems. We need representatives of the people that are going to be answerable to the people who work in these communities. The people who work on the land, who are taking care of the land, and not representing the interests of some bajillionaire Chinese corporation or some, criminal syndicate, Brazilian meat monopoly, and being like, oh, well, the economy and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like, we do not have to be captive to the capitalist delusion of infinite growth. Like, we can have qualitative development instead of quantitative. And that's what we need. We can build rural communities that are vibrant and are, provide jobs. We can put people to work taking care of the things that take care of us. And if we don't, they won't take care of us. So we either do it now voluntarily, or we try to wait a couple more decades, and then we got to figure it out either way, probably while we're in the middle of a shooting war. So I'm running for state Congress, for state representative. District 22 covers Torrance County, most of Torrance County, and Bernalillo County east of Carnuel. I was born and raised there, and I'm most interested in representing issues really affecting my home community, but I also love this whole state, and got to put in the work. And putting in the work, driving a truck is something, but like, this is not sustainable. I am not be driving back and forth to Colorado twice a week. We need change. So, appreciate your support.